Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the Underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The Underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the Underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Woo! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Why am I not in the intro? I gotta come up with a snappy line.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion each and every week. And this week, we are reviewing the much-anticipated two-part Season 1 finale of Maul, Shadow Lord. And we have a podcast collaboration to do it of two different shows coming together on the network. I'm Chris. Joining me, it's my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones from the Star Wars Underworld podcast.
From that, no way. On this show in this economy. Hey, hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, everybody. It's great to be back, and let me say a belated Happy May the 4th be with you to everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful Star Wars day. My favorite part of it was going around to all of my friends and coworkers who are not Star Wars fans and saying, "Don't you have something to say to me today? Don't you have something?" And just watching their face, they tried to figure it out. We're explaining, oh no, it's Star Wars Day. It's the most important of all the holidays. But a very good Star Wars Day. Got to watch two great Star Wars things involving Darth Vader. Obviously the Maul Shadow Lord two-part finale, but we also went and saw Rogue One on the big screen at my favorite movie theater in Toronto, the Fox Theater. So it was a double whammy of Darth Vader awesomeness for this Star Wars Day. So happy Star Wars Day. Cannot wait to break down these two episodes.
For Star Wars Day, I had something that happened the day before, the day after, and the day of. The day before, I had a random actor who plays a random character in a random Star Wars TV show yell
Ewan McGregor
yell out their car window, "May the 4th be with you," as I was walking away.
Nice.
During Star Wars Day, I had someone who I showed Star Wars to for the first time, who I haven't talked to in like 10 years, text me a salute.
Nice.
And then the day after, I had my mom say, "Oops, it's a day late, but may the 4th be with you." So that was my Star Wars week so far. Absolutely hilarious. Also joining us, also from the Star Wars Underworld podcast, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Yes, can't confirm. I'm from this podcast. Even I don't know. Is this a takeover? Or is there people encroaching on our land? Get off our land! No, I'm fine. It's fine. Happy happy belated Star Wars Day, May the 4th. Weirdly, like no major Star Wars announcements, which was just like almost kind of refreshing. Kind of just like, okay, everything's okay. What is it?
Let me say, Ben, where does this notion that there are major Star Wars Day announcements ever? Where does this come from? What's going on? No, where seriously, where is this? Where has it ever come from? Nobody. It never happens. Every year, I have an idea too. The same thing happens. Where people go, this is going to be it. There's going to be a trailer for this and a trailer for that, and they're going to announce 7 new movies. And Dave Filoni is going to get up in front of us and I'll do a tap dance while revealing 17 new theme park attractions.
Kathleen Kennedy going to get fired again.
That'd be awesome.
again.
I mean,
ever
so here's the thing: is I think you answered the question right there. I think it's because so many people speculate on it, and so often we say maybe we'll get this on May 4th that it's just ingrained into our brains now to expect something because there's just so many people speculating on it with no actual evidence that it's ever happened.
I think it's also most folks like Dom. You had to remind your coworkers. I didn't have to remind mine. Just humble brag. But and my friends, my soccer friends, and everyone. For them, that's the Star Wars day. For us, it's every day is Star Wars day. But for them, I think it's the one day they've heard. Like the last time I heard that was a sports podcast, sports radio show. People were talking about, hey, it's Star Wars day. They're gonna announce some things. So I wonder if it is one of those wider audience things. It's kind of seeped in. We hear it by osmosis. It's my theory.
Yeah, fascinating.
Here's the thing, though. Of course, real Star Wars Day is May 25th. Real Star Wars Day is May 25th. May 4th is
real Star Wars Day.
Made up,
my glasses.
Made up pagan holiday crap. We celebrate the real Star Wars Day on May 25th. Sorry, Ben. I didn't mean to interrupt your introduction.
No.
With,
actually, it actually leads. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it does lead me to May the 4th really is it's for the normies. It's for the people that don't normally So I've found it very hard to celebrate Star Wars Day or to talk about Star Wars, post about Star Wars, because I do that every day. What am I going to do differently on Star Wars Day that I don't do every other day? Whereas, if you don't have a Star Wars podcast, if you don't have a Star Wars page on whatever else, I understand that this is a big day for you. Not to discredit May the 4th, because I think it's fun to just wake up and it's everybody is celebrating. Somehow everyone is a Star Wars fan today, which is always fun to see everyone do their little shit, thing about Star Wars Day. So yeah, it's fun.
Yes,
that is correct. Can confirm.
Yes, that's what we do as well over here in California. Also joining us from the Eye On Canon Podcast is Matthew.
How's it going, folks? Long time no talk, long time no see. Haven't been on this show in a while because I'm hanging out, of course, on the Eye On Canon Podcast. But it's great to be here to chat about a television show that has a great tie-in comic. Gotta shout that out. Shout out Shadow Lord. As Dom mentioned, we went to the Fox Theater and saw Rogue One, and that was basically all I did for Star Wars Day. Worked.
Did you do the thing I suggested? Did you do the thing?
Yes. Oh, yes. I did read. I read that Rogue One tie-in comic that wasn't that great, but
no, that's not what I suggested. That's not what
So we watched Andor, the last 3 episodes of Andor. Then we watched the Rogue One.
Nice.
And then we watched then I read the Rogue One tie, and then we watched Rogue One. Definitely. You're right, Joel. It was a good call. Definitely made it feel gave a sense of how well Dom was chatting with you about this. How well Tony Gilroy goes from the gritty, real world grounded spy story into the space opera, the fun fantasy adventure, and really how well Tony Gilroy bridges that gap in, especially that last episode, into the meeting with Tivik and everything. We know that film, and then the literal handoff at the end with Ramus to Leia. So all a great way to kick off the Rogue One at 10 party. Film that maybe doesn't get as much attention anymore, but not for lack of deserving. It definitely was a good time. It was a fun time. No trivia contests this year, which is that was different. No trivia contest, but we'll get it next year.
Is that because somebody kept winning them, and then we can't have any trivia contests in Canada?
Entirely. Yeah. No, I won the last one we did, but
dynamic duo of trivia conquistadors in Canada. I don't know why.
We went a while back. We went and competed together in one, and what we realized what we should have done is competed separately as individuals, because then we could have won first and second prize instead of just first prize.
Oh, this is true. Yeah, see, this is kind of like a stock car racing, which I know that Canadians don't know much about, but stock car
You
racing
know enough about it. Come on.
concept of like you root for a team and you want like your team to be like first, second, and third. And
There you go.
Yeah. But this adds more evidence to my theory that the number one way to introduce someone to Star Wars is to first show them the Rogue One tie-in comic book, and then watch the last 2 episodes of Andor, and then watch Rogue One, and then watch A New Hope. It's just definitely the best way to introduce someone to Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
clearly,
100% in that order
see,
too.
And that way, you're not, hitting them with the best thing first either, so that there's kind of room to grow after the comic book.
You see, you have to start with the holiday special, because the holiday special is proto Andor. When you look at the holiday special, there are so many themes that Andor just builds on. Like, you see little Imperial officers infiltrating a Wookiee home, violating their constitutional rights, expecting their home.
And it's Joel's Connection Corner.
It's all connected.
The people at the bar, at Maud B. Arthur's bar, rising up against the fact they're closing down the bar. That's a song. It's like Ferrix. Same thing.
Yeah, that is also a very good entry point as well. I'm assuming that even non-Star Wars fans have seen that at least being memed. But if not, it is a must-watch. If you haven't seen Star Wars, it'll be even better. And then that final voice you hear and face you see also from the Eye On Canon podcast. There we go. It's Joel Davis.
Hi. For my Star Wars day, I did the podcast by myself because someone went to see a movie without me. I was inspired by our good friend Ben to do a solo podcast, and I think I beat your record, Ben, because I managed to go for 1 hour and 29 minutes and 43 seconds. I
have the 2 times that I have done it, I've either lost my voice or got bored and just got off. So
I was out of breath. I was ready to I was about to stop. I'm about to lose my breath and just collapse, but I was about to keep going anyway.
It's really hard, isn't it? It's really hard to be the only person talking. You don't get a chance to take a break. You just keep going until you're out of breath.
Exactly, but I kept going. I talked about Maul, and then I went into several hot takes about why I like release order in terms of viewing Star Wars, why I don't like Force Unleashed as a story, why I don't like the Old Republic MMO aesthetic, and why everyone's wrong about the Mando box office. And then I went into an academic thing about all the various eras of Star Wars and just kind of explaining them era by era using both legends and canon material. And then I stopped.
Sounds like a course.
Yeah, I agree with 3.5 of the hot takes there. Almost having, yeah. Joel, a question though about your solo podcast. You said it was 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 43 seconds.
Yes.
Of that amount of time, how much would you say it was over or under 50% did you spend talking about Rada the Hutt's abs? Because that, I believe, is a requirement for all solo podcasts on the Star Wars Underworld Network.
I'm afraid under. I did not talk about those abs.
Otherwise, it's just wasted airtime. Okay,
I know.
Dare you, sir?
I want to know about this alphabetical order. I kind of figured it out, and I did realize, by the way, alphabetical order.
Inside joke. Before you go, when I talk about what order to watch Star Wars, I always say the cop-out answer is whatever you put on TV and whatever someone gets attached to. I don't care. It could be release order, chronological, and then I always joke alphabetical.
But then I actually figured it out and realized the sequel trilogy is in alphabetical order, right? The Force Awakens.
They all start with the.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, FLR.
Yeah,
it's the trilogy.
There's the plan. There's the plan. There's the Stoke theory.
But I'm working out the alphabetical order because I guess you start with A New Hope, then you go Attack of the Clones.
It depends if you count and the.
Yes, I think you do. I think you count and
it's because you want to start with A New Hope all the time. No.
Yeah, so you start with A New Hope, then you go Attack the Clones. Then what are these other movies called? And what is the alphabet? Then I think you jump to Return of the Jedi. Then Revenge of the Sith. then QRSTS, so Solo.
I think we only
And
count
then-
the saga stories.
And then you get into the and so it's The Empire Strikes Back, The Force Awakens, The Phantom, the LMNO, The Last Jedi, The Phantom Menace, The Rise of Skywalker. So Phantom Menace is you're going from Phantom Menace to
Return of the
Rise
Jedi.
Skywalker. Return of the Jedi.
And then Return of the Jedi would
But
be
no, Return of the Jedi has to go before.
That's before Rise of
the-
Skywalker.
But it's
All right,
not
somebody
the Return
needs
of
to
the Jedi.
sign
It's Return
up.
of the Jedi.
Somebody needs
The Empire
to
Strikes Back, but it's
sacrifice
not the
himself.
Return of the Jedi.
I wanna
so that's
see
actually
someone's
pretty
first
decent.
reaction to
And you know what?
watching Star Wars like that.
We can throw in soon in about 2 weeks' time. We'll be able to throw in The Mandalorian and Grogu. So,
true, yeah.
so it would be The Empire Strikes Back, The Force Awakens, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Then the Last Jedi, The Phantom Menace, The Rise of Skywalker. What an
Ish.
order! Best order.
Hey, why not?
That's wild.
Why not?
Yeah,
It's
that
more
works.
interesting. It's
Does
more
work.
interesting if you don't have the count A and the, because then you have to start with Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, I
Also-
suppose.
Also, apparently, if you go by that list, and we don't count the anthology films, then Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, and Rise of Skywalker all kind of are in the same little camp, and I call those the Palpatine movies. So you kind of get the Palpatine movies all in one go.
There we go.
The Palpatine trilogy.
Mhm.
All right. I think
On that note,
I think we should, Chris. I think we should very quickly.
Gee,
plug
it's a
some things,
shame
and
we
then-
don't have
then-
anything to talk about tonight other than
Then
this.
we can dive into these episodes.
All right,
'cause,
all right. If you're,
we've
if
wasted
you're-
enough time on whatever that was.
I don't need to ask you if you're watching because obviously you are. So hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you super chat with us or become a channel member, depending on if you're live or not on YouTube. Check out our Discord link in the description. Check out the shows on the network not mentioned already, like Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, Tractor Beam, and the Raeside. And Dom, do we have a hot off the press?
Yes, I've been posting written reviews of all the episodes of Maul Shadowlord, and I posted my review of the finale yesterday. Yes, Wednesday.
Check
So
it
go
out.
check that out. Check that out. All right, let us dive into things and discuss the two-part season 1 finale of Maul Shadowlord, Chapter 9, Strange Allies, written by Christopher Yost and directed by Stuart Lee, and Chapter 10, The Dark Lord, written by Matt Michnovitz and Brad Rao, and directed by Nate Villanueva. Ben, one final time for season 1 of Maul Shadowlord. We're going to throw it to you first. What did you think of this two-part bonanza of Star Wars?
Yeah, so first of all, I feel the need to explain my perspective on this episode, especially leading up to this. And Joel can attest to this because he was involved in this. Because Joel Davis, when was that? Like the week
It
it
was like
premiered
a week
or before?
before. I think it was the week before the premiere. I think.
So Joel sends me a link to Reddit. The Reddit post has every single character poster from Maul Shadowlord linked in there, and actually did some digging, and it was on the Disney Wiki for the Maul Shadowlord, the listing for Maul Shadowlord on the Disney Wiki. Somebody at Disney pushed the wrong button. So all of them, the Imperial Officer one, the Dryden Voss one, the Dark Side, Devon one, and also, of course, the Darth Vader one, all out there, all to see. I have them on my phone. And that was wild to get because obviously, I loved it. I wasn't bummed about being spoiled because it was kind of it was well known that okay, Vader seems like a safe bet to show up in this show, but spent the entire season, especially on this show, not wanting to mention Vader at all. I'm like, I don't want to spoil this for anyone.
Same.
I don't want to even bring up the subject. And then going forward, I'm like, okay, well, how big of a role is he going to have in the finale? Would they give him a character poster for just a 1-minute scene at the end of this episode? How are they going to do this? And then to finally get to this episode and see, you know, those final moments of that first episode and be like, okay, they're doing this full on, because I genuinely was like, how are they going to do this? Obviously, we know season 2 is coming. How do you end season 1 with Vader and make it to the point where you're not peaking early? And I think what they're setting up here is amazing, but also just the what's in these episodes is some of the best Star Wars in animation, some of the best Star Wars period. I think it's really just masterfully done. How they treated Vader, how they do with the characters. So shocking to see so many what has become beloved characters. R.I.P. Spybot, R.I.P. All those guys. We even lost Brander Lawson, which kind of surprised me. And have this, what was George R.R. Martin writing this? I don't know, but shocking, brilliant. I can't say enough about how amazing these episodes were. Stunningly, some of my best, like the whole fight over the pit of acid is probably one of my favorite Star Wars action scenes of all time. Like, truly, just incredible. So, yeah, I liked these episodes, if you couldn't tell.
I got that impression, Ben. Yeah, well, we're definitely, I mean, obviously we're going to touch on all of that as we go. Joel, let's go to you next. What did you think overall of these 2 episodes?
Much like Ben, I also knew Vader was going to be in this. I had to pretty much just sidestep it every time me and Matthew talked about it. Where I'm like, well, this is why I think it could be, and maybe this is how it could work. I mean, I honestly didn't know what role Vader would be in the show. I just knew, like, okay, she's coming. Is it going to be big? Is it going to be small? What's going to happen? But no, I mean, these 8 episodes were, harsh, man. Like, we lost all of Maul's crew. Like, when Spybot especially, just, that's the saddest death, right? Can we all agree Spybot, the saddest death?
Yeah.
Like, just, he goes,
devastating.
Mister! And he's just like, no, Spybot, he was the good boy. He was Maul's good boy. Good boy to Maul. And then, like, Rook Cass, like, I was a little shocked by just how unceremonious she went out. Like, she's been like this punk rock goth, Mando, and he just like zoop goes into the forest, and then you just kind of hear the crunch and like, oh god, and then just Vader shows up. That was amazing. I'm loving how Devin has fallen. These are like some of probably the best turns to the dark side on screen that feel very believable. They feel like she's in the right place right now, kind of like Osha at the end of Acolyte, where it's like they're on the dark side. How far are they gonna go? I don't know. She's definitely mad. She definitely wants revenge against Vader. Is she gonna start unaliving the younglings anytime soon or something? I don't know. We can get into that as we speculate. Lightsaber fight was amazing. Vader was amazing in this. This is the most Vader we've seen Vader on screen. This is 100% Vader at his most Vader-y. I put in the notes, by the way, something Filoni said we could talk about later. And yeah, overall, just a great season of Star Wars. I think this is probably the best first season of any of the animated Star Wars shows to date. I think it's consistent.
I might agree with that.
It's strong.
Yeah,
I don't think there are any real lows or just like what's. I'm not ready to compare Maul Shadow Lord to the other shows, and like I'm almost like not sure how when you compare something like Maul Shadow Lord, which could be 2 seasons, and then Clone Wars, which is 7 and a bajillion episodes. But no, this is gonna be up there. It's gonna be up for sure. And wow, what a finale! What's some Star Wars?
Absolutely, Chris. Let's get your take overall on chapters 9 and 10.
Well, first of all, I was wrong, so that was nice. Joe did an amazing job of faking me out and making me think that Devin could not fall to the dark side, and that she was, passing every test. And I think that's brilliant. Like, I think that it's brilliant that instead of doing what they've done with other characters like Anakin Skywalker, where there's a lot of foreshadowing of their fall, they did kind of make us believe that she she was impervious to this by making her always choose the right moral decision at any point where she had to make a decision. She was not really shown to consider much of what Maul was throwing out there. But I think it was brilliant to show that, sometimes on the outside, a break in someone's worldview is sudden. Like it's not necessarily a bunch of small moments and small decisions. It's slowly creeping towards another view of reality and another sense of morality. But it's an internal struggle that you don't see, and people often will, on the outside, seem the same as they always have been. But it just takes that one pivotal thing to happen in their life to have that internal conflict become externalized, and then finally see that they were heading in that direction. So I think that's brilliant, because I don't think we've seen a lot of that in Star Wars. I think Star Wars has telegraphed things a lot more than this in the past. So I think, showing how it was the death of her master that really pushed her over the edge and pushed her to embrace Maul's ideology in action for the first time, was a pretty unexpected for me moment, that surprised me, and that made me appreciative of the show taking a risk like that and showing us a twist like that. And so I thought it was extremely well done. I agree with what the others have said about how the season's been an incredible first season, how the action in this episode is some of the best action sequences that we've seen in Star Wars. And I love the way that Vader has been portrayed so far in this show. I love the way that they've animated Vader's movements and how iconic and to his personality his movements are. You just could tell it's him. Like, if he was in a completely different outfit, you could still know it was Vader by the way that he's moving, which I think was a really, really cool attention to detail, to have him move so differently than the other characters, and so much like Vader and other shows and movies. So very incredible finale to the show. Really and strong first season, and there's just so much momentum going into season 2. It's going to be so anticipated.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely on that. Matthew, let's go to you. Your overall thoughts on these 2 episodes.
Well, first off, Joel, you succeeded in keeping me in the dark. Well done. It also demonstrates why I'm so spoiler averse, because I thought Vader might come up, but there being discussions about it on our different podcasts. But when he steps, the breathing, and then he steps through the fog, my jaw actually hung out. It was that reaction right there. A few frames back, but that reaction there was precisely what they're going for, and precisely the type of emotional experience of Star Wars that I live for. And then even watching it again and again, I would start smiling at how beautifully it was done, how perfectly it was done. Vader's hard. Vader's tough to use, because you want to use him sparingly, you want to use him right. Brought him in the end of Rebels season 1 and Rebels season 2. When you bring him in, you got to be careful in Rogue One, and here it was pitch perfect. It may be in a story not fully centered on him. I'm gonna go on a limb. I mean, this might be recentism, but one of the best uses of him in a non-film, non-Vader story. So therefore it. Chris, I want to think about what we were talking about Devin. It's interesting. I could see what you mean in terms of her choices, entirely just when she's faced with either Maul or Daki. I did see in her eyes, like, they did do a great job of that internal conflict, even very early when she's first dueling Maul in episodes 1 or 2, you could see the anger, the rage starting to bubble up. She disagrees with Docky in his perspective a lot, right? She's thinking about it. She's tempted to consider, oh, maybe Maul has something, right? So, yeah, I mean, part of it just, again, subjective experience. Greatly experienced it as a twist. I experienced it as incredible build-up. That, yeah, they really plotted that out, I thought, and really, I mean, the animators did such a spectacular job acting her, performing her throughout the season to make this feel, frankly, almost inevitable in the end. So, yeah, and it being Docky's death as the catalyst that finally pushes her over the edge. So, all told, spectacular Star Wars, spectacular animation, spectacular Star Wars overall.
I hated it. I thought it was crap, and I thought the show should be canceled, just like The Acolyte. No, yeah. As everybody has said, I think these 2 episodes, it's hard to think of a better way to end this season. They delivered on so much of what has been built up, while also setting the stage for season 2 and beyond. And we'll get into all that, but it was a wonderful payoff to a lot of things that we've been building to, and some things, Vader's introduction, it was spoiled. I also knew from the moment those posters showed up online that this was coming, but it still felt right. They didn't obviously foreshadow it throughout the run of the season, but they made it so that there really was no other way to end this season. God love Merrick and Birdface there, but they are not interesting enough threats to end this season on. They are not going to make Devin turn to the dark side, but Darth Vader can. And it also is delivering on something that people have been asking for since 1999, which is what would happen if Darth Maul fought Darth Vader. And in one sense, it's always been kind of a silly question because Darth Vader was always going to win. But they managed to make it a really interesting fight, even though the result was never in doubt. And they did it. They did it so perfectly because they walked that line between just doing the fan service, let's put these 2 together and see what happens. I'm sure there's dozens of fan films that imagine this exact scenario.
We got comics that do this too. We got
comics too, and stories and everything, and all at the same time. It was all in service of this larger story that they've been telling for the entire season. So huge success in that way. Let's stick with Vader because I think this is kind of the headline of the episode. Chris, I'll go back to you for this. What did you think of how they pulled off having Vader and Maul, 2 characters with very distinct but very specific fighting styles, face off in a way that mattered to the story?
Yeah, I thought it was very well done because you need to show the power scaling appropriately in moments like this. And that's where it's very difficult because you a lot of times see Maul and Vader, you've only seen them separately and you've seen, how powerful they are against maybe common opponents. And it's like very difficult to kind of imagine and kind of correctly pull off how the power scaling would be when they're fighting against each other. The thing that I really like about how they contrasted Maul and Vader's fighting styles is that, Maul is very erratic in his fighting style. Like he could move any which way at any moment. He can go back and forth between using a single-bladed lightsaber, a double-bladed lightsaber, or 2 single-bladed lightsabers. He has, martial arts in his fighting style, although that's diminished a lot, I think, since he's become a partial cyborg. And he uses the Force somewhat, but he's still pretty physical and hands-on, I think, in his fighting style. I think it was very interesting to see that contrasted against pretty much the opposite things with Vader. Vader was very stoic. He was standing very tall and only made very kind of minimized motions, like kind of the least amount of motion you would expect his body to make in order to accomplish what he was accomplishing. You would see him just stand still, but his arms move really quickly to meet someone's lightsaber. You would see him use the Force a lot instead of attacking physically. And I think kind of seeing the imposing, tall shape of Vader against the kind of shorter, more fluid Maul was a very interesting contrast. And it was interesting how it was shown that Vader and his stillness and his precision and his conciseness of his moves was so much more powerful than Maul, so much more formidable than Maul, which I thought was a very cool contrast, because of course you could do the opposite, but it would be way less interesting. It's more interesting when the more still character is the more powerful. So I think kind of the Vader exhibited almost like a silent strength, a silent ominousness, and I thought this was just a really cool depiction of Vader through the contrast with Maul and the other characters.
There's actually, it's funny. I've read, I'm going to go a little tangent, but let's get to the point. So someone on Tumblr saw, funny enough, something you posted, Ben, a couple years ago, of who would win a fight, Chimere or Maul. And he actually did a breakdown of why he thought Chimere would win. And I think it's kind of the same weird reason that Vader won. Because here's the thing. Maul was trained 100% in the ways of the Sith. As we know from as a young teenager by Sidious. Where his argument was why Chimere and Vader would win, because Chimere and Vader were both Jedi. They were able to kind of take those techniques, some of those patient skills, those kind of like, hey, don't be too erratic all the time of being a Jedi, and implement them in their fighting style and their thinking and their tactics. So Bob Maul's just like anger, passion. Yeah, I mean, Chimere and Vader probably got that too. But they're also kind of got the patience and kind of more the hold your ego of the Jedi in there. So they're kind of mixing Jedi and Sith techniques, while Maul's just using his Sith techniques that Sidious probably taught him, because Sidious only knew Sith techniques too, because he was never a Jedi. So I think it's this interesting thing of Vader both being a Jedi once upon a time and Anakin, but also taking what he learned in sword fighting and whatnot, but also and going up against Maul, who only kind of knew the more erratic Sith behaviors, which I think is interesting. And that's kind of my own headcanon to why Vader's winning that battle, because I think Vader, in a weird sense, is still using those Jedi skills, even if he's doing it subconsciously or not. You can't ever truly let that. You don't ever lose the teachings, even if you say you reject them.
Yeah, I mean, it raises the tragic irony of what this means for Maul's character, right? I mean, first of all, how many lines of dialogue does Vader have in this? 0. That silent strength Christy mentioned. The tragic irony of what this means, what we saw in the episode 8, that vision, and how much Maul is still consumed by the fact that he's the replacement, or he was replaced. He was cast away. He thought he was going to be the heir apparent to the Sith, and this mentor Palpatine was, fairly frankly an abusive mentor, but still there was that bond there that gets just cast off, and he knows that the replacement is out there somewhere. Well, where's the replacement? It's right there. This is Palpatine's man. This is the Sidious's man. This is the one Sidious really wanted all along. Turns out, wanted Anakin from the start, from when he was 9 years old, and to see just how frankly inept Maul is, with Vader. Just the very simple, quick, easy motions, almost easy for Vader to fighting off not just Maul, but Docky and Devin, right? A Jedi Master, a Padawan, and a former Sith, and it's just like nothing. And again, just how, you talk about power scaling, right? So Maul, even with the Inquisitors, he's able to handle them fairly well, but against Vader, there's no chance, and it really serves to push Maul into reinforce for him that he's got to just go off into the underworld. He's like Sidious tells him on Mandalore, you've been replaced, and not about Dooku, but really ultimately about Vader.
Right.
Well, yeah, and I mean, go ahead, Joel. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I also just love how, because I think it's interesting about Vader's fighting style, especially when you watch just the original trilogies. Like Vader doesn't really move. Obviously we got the New Hope duel, which is tap, 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 tap.
Yeah.
And then Empire's a little bit more static, but Vader's just so the master of that duel. He's more playing with Luke than just father and son playing. That sounds creepy. But he's more like playing with Luke than just like an actual duel. Like this is all more like just, I'm not really trying to kill you, kid, son, but I'm gonna still maim you a little bit. And then obviously we got Return of the Jedi duel, which again is kind of like Vader's kind of not in his best element. He's kind of like, well, no, I mean, my son's trying to tell me one thing, but the Emperor's trying to tell me another thing. I don't know what to do. It's a madhouse, I tell you. So I think it could have been very easy, and I think even something Kenobi did quite well at this as well. Is like let's give Vader the flips and the prequel moves and the and I think they really handled it well. It's like, no, he's still kind of this tank. He's still kind of like just bam, wham, wham, wham. But he's still very still and like doesn't do flips and tricks and just kind of more like just like trying to bang you with his lightsaber when he gets mad or something. So I love how they kind of like he moves more because of the technology and how we do choreography, but he's still kind of still and just like a tank.
Yeah. I remember, I can't remember if it was Gareth Edwards or who it was, but somebody was talking about when they were choreographing and shooting the hallway scene from the end of Rogue One. The thought process was, we need to do something cool. We need to do something exciting, but we can't show Vader doing something he couldn't have done in the original trilogy. And so same thing when you watch that scene, all he's really doing is walking forward and swinging his lightsaber and using the Force a little bit. He isn't, like you said, Joel, he's not doing flips. He's not fighting the way that Maul fights. And I think, and they carried that through to Rebels, to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then of course now to this. And I think that's what made this duel so very interesting, is that it is, it's the two different styles. That was something, I don't know how much this was talked about amongst like adult Star Wars fans, but as kids, that was always our thing. As kids, we'd be like, the prequels are so much better because they've got better lightsaber duels. The duels in the original trilogy are lame and slow and boring. And the argument was always, well, they're cooler because they're doing flips and there's all this martial arts stuff, and they brought in Ray Park and he learned and Nick Gillard and all these incredible things. And what we see here is literally the clash of styles of the prequel style going up against the original trilogy style. And the thing about it is, the one who has to win is the original trilogy style. That's the character who is more powerful. That's the character who has to win this fight for the sake of the story. Put aside our perceptions of who's more powerful. For the sake of the story, Vader has to win this fight. And so how do you make it so that the excitement, the thrill, the spectacle of this prequel character in Maul, who more than anybody else represents that prequel style of fighting, how do you make it so that he not just loses, but loses convincingly to Vader? And they did such a good job. I think this, I've loved just about everything we've gotten with Vader, and I think they just nailed it here of showing how he just is. He's unflappable. He has a plan. He knows what he's doing, and he's not scared by the obvious sort of almost distractions of, we've got 3 people. Okay, I'm going to spin my lightsaber around like crazy. I'm going to flip and jump and do all these things. He's not moved by it. He's just like, I know I can beat you. It's almost the, you mean nothing to me. You're nothing to me. I'm going to squash you like a bug.
It feels like he could have killed them like in the first 5 minutes, but he just didn't. He just didn't want to. He was just like playing with these people. What actually surprises me with this whole thing is almost like some out of universe stuff for me, is like the timelessness of Star Wars, the fact that we have this one design. You know, you look at Maul as like this, that's kind of what has kept Maul going all these years. He's really cool looking. He has cool tattoos. That's why everyone loves him. And he's good at fighting. And just that design as it of itself, like carrying forward, 20 years later, more than 20 years later. And now you have this other design in Vader, one of the most iconic, that's almost 50 years old, that has pretty much been the same all this time. And these two figures meeting together and fighting. I love the idea of just like these two fighting styles mixing, but also just like these two characters that have been on parallel paths within Star Wars canon. Maul tried to run over Anakin once upon a time. That happened a while ago. And, I was always disappointed in the Clone Wars. I'm like, why do you keep having him fight Obi-Wan? It would be cool if Anakin and Maul fought. Well, now we're getting that. And it's really cool to see that. And also, I've always liked, going back to the prequels, going back to those early, I remember one particular complaint that always kind of came up. And maybe it was just like one guy I would talk to. But like, it was this complaint about like, well, Maul doesn't say anything in the Phantom Menace. He's just silent. He's just a silent killer. And, usually in the fights, there's all kinds of dialogue and you get what this character's doing, what this character's thinking. And Maul just doesn't say anything. He has 3 lines in the whole movie. He should have said more stuff. And like, I get that, but I also love the reading that Maul was one piece of like the puzzle. Like, I like the idea of like the prequel villains, Dooku, Grievous, Maul were all like pieces of what Vader would become, and in this sense, you have now Maul facing Vader, Maul talking all the time, won't shut up. And Vader is this silent killer, like this, what Maul used to be in regards to just this tank. I'm here. This is a job. I'm here to kill you. I don't have anything to talk about. I'm just going to do my thing. And you're not gonna, there's no way there's no way out of this. And I love that juxtaposition and just like these two characters finally meeting and having this fight, and it's epic, but also the symbolism of just like, oh wow, this has been a long time coming, and it is fascinating to see these characters on screen together.
It's fascinating because like these are the symbols of their era. Maul, even though he's in one movie,
Maul packaging.
Exactly, but he was in one movie. He died, and he doesn't say much. But he kind of was the symbol of the prequels for many years. He was the design that came out of it.
I mean, Joel, go back and look at that Phantom Menace 3D re-release poster. That looks like that's a Darth Maul movie. That's like, never mind the fact this guy's on screen for like less than 5 minutes. That looks like a Darth Maul movie that they're selling.
Exactly. I mean, we always thought he was the Phantom Menace, even though it's really Sidious, but and then Vader, obviously he's the symbol of Star Wars, kind of in the grand sense of the word. But if you just want to compare it to eras, like he is the original trilogy's big design that everyone loved and was powerful at the time. I should say, if you just compare New Hope to Phantom Menace, Vader gets a little bit more meat on the bone of his character, at least initially, with the backstory and the connections to the father and whatnot. But these are the two designs. These are the kind of the two icons of their era meeting, and I think that's always been why, regardless of story, we've always wanted it, because like these two symbols of their original era just clashing. It's kind of it's like your toy packaging, like the most popular toys on the shelf. And they've always been that way, in compared to like even Dooku or Grievous.
And the fact that Vader has to defeat Maul on the grander symbolic scale, because it's the dark times. It is this time of transition from the great conflict of the prequels into the looming conflict of the original trilogy. And I talked about the handoff in Rogue One. This is getting, maybe because I saw it on the same day, but getting in my mind thinking that, this is the handoff. This Vader has to win because that's the next part of the story. It's about the Empire and about the rebellion against the Empire. Also to say, I do wonder, there's something about, Maul being about the Sith, and there's the rule of two and the whole Bane lore, and if his focus is on being the Sith apprentice and having the title Dark Lord of the Sith, and that is a very prequel era concern, and I'm here for it. I'm wearing this T-shirt. I love I've been a prequelist my for a long time now, but it just shows how Maul is concerned about being a Sith, whereas Vader is concerned about the Force and tapping into the power of the Force. And yes, Maul talks about that. Maul understands that, but where the different preoccupations are. And so what is clearly more powerful, more dominant, more in touch with the universe, the galaxy, it's the Force itself. Of course, Maul never gets redeemed and Vader does. And so maybe that is some bit of hinting towards it, but not in this moment here. Vader is so in tune with the Force and with his stature and his dominance that it's clear. It's that clash between just one faction, one group of Force wielders versus the Force itself.
It is funny though that Master Aki was like Aki, right? Daki?
Yeah.
Daki.
Sorry,
Daki.
Aki's a character from Chainsaw Man. Master Daki was tuning into like, oh shoot, this metal guy. I don't think he's an Inquisitor. I think he's a Sith Lord. Ah shoot, that's bad news. It's kind of funny, like he thinks that, and then it's like, well, Maul's right there. It's like he was a Sith Lord once. Like, did that not count anymore? Like, I mean, I guess not to him, but like, Maul's bad, but like this guy's a Sith Lord. Be careful. I mean, I guess it's how Qui-Gon caught up back in Phantom Menace. We're like, I think this Maul guy's a Sith Lord. There's something about it.
There's something about him. He looks like the devil, and we're like, this guy's real bad.
He looks untrustworthy.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Vader doesn't speak in this duel. And I think it speaks to the characters and what they want at this point in time. As we've said, I think Vader in this moment is almost not interested in what's going on. This is like what he has to do because it's his job. He's showing up to do his job.
Clocking in for the Emperor. I'm bored.
Yeah. Maul is looking at this fight, and he has a very specific goal in mind. He realizes that there is an opportunity here, because what is the one thing that has been tethering Devon to the light? She doesn't want to. Her connection, her loyalty, her relationship with her master is such that even if she likes what Maul is saying, even if she kind of agrees with what Maul is saying, even if she doesn't want to admit it, she is never going to abandon Master Ikodio Daki. And so the only way that Maul has come to this realization, the only way to get her to come to join him on the dark side is to remove Daki from the equation entirely. So that is now Maul's goal. And so he steps away from the fight. But before he does that, there is a moment where Devon is fighting Birdface, and Daki and Maul are taking on Vader together. And I thought this was really interesting because, to me, the moments when they had the most success against Vader, not that they were necessarily ever going to win this fight, but the moments when they had the most success were when Daki and Maul were working together. It was light and dark working together in something you might even call balance. and they were having some success against Vader. But the nature of the dark side is such that it can't accept this. It has to be more powerful. And Maul thinks Devin is the key to him becoming more powerful. So he steps away from the fight. And that's when Daki is on his own, left to face Vader, and he can't survive it. But I did think there was a moment there that neither of them could appreciate. But I think we as the audience can see it, that there is, if these guys could figure out how to look past the narrow dogmatic views of the Jedi and the Sith and appreciate the larger view of the Force, then maybe they had a real opportunity instead of, continuing to fight amongst themselves as much as they were fighting against.
I mean, I push back against the light and dark being equal as balance thing. And I actually don't agree with the dogmatic view of the Jedi, but me, I'm someone who thinks that George never intended the prequel Jedi to be bad. But I do think it is interesting of seeing Maul having almost I think if anything, it's more Maul thing of there could be potential in Maul as a good guy, right? There's so much there that Maul could be a good person.
You look at go ahead, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, you look at his motivations, they're good motivations to just not make sure that anyone gets hurt by Sidious ever again. However, of course, Maul is actively hurting this other kid to be his apprentice. So, it's kind of funny we're all talking about Devin falling. Maul kind of is gaslighting and manipulating her. I mean, Maul pushes Master Daki into Vader, and he's like, "I'm out of here. I'm going to pretend I was there to fight, but he got slain. But it's there are potential for if Maul could just let go of the revenge part and the killing part and the doing bad part, your motivations are good, but your actions suck.
Well, I think this is jump in, Chris. Jump in, Chris.
So,
you've been quiet for a minute. You jump in here.
Yes, I think that something that storytelling has kind of warped our brains into thinking is that in order for a villain to be a villain, their intentions must be evil. And I think the vast majorities of villainous people, realistically, it's not their intentions that's the problem, it's how they go about achieving them. I mean, even look at Sidious. He just wants peace. That's what he wants. He wants a peaceful galaxy.
I mean,
it is great, but his way of achieving that is unlimited power. So there's these good intentions, in a lot of characters, but they're still very villainous. So I wouldn't be so quick to. I think if anything, it makes Maul more of an anti-hero character, more of a character that you kind of can root for in a protagonist way because you agree with some of the things that some of his intentions. But again, ultimately, the show and a lot of Star Wars is about showing that it's how you go about it. That's the issue. Now I want to kind of get back to that kind of moment with Master Daki and Maul, switching from fighting alongside Master Daki to fighting alongside Devin. I would have hoped, as someone who has the bird's eye view as the viewer, I would have hoped that Devin would have the foresight and the insight and the maturity to see that it was not really Vader or the Empire or Sidious indirectly that killed her master. It was Maul. Maul abandoned Daki very, very purposefully to manufacture this situation where, one, he can guarantee that if one of them was going to survive, it was going to be the one that he could manipulate, and then two, potentially even more sinisterly, to actually manufacture Daki's death so that he could use it to manipulate Devin. And that was very clear looking at it, as someone watching it. But unfortunately, I think everything was happening too fast, and there were too many emotions involved in the moment for Devin to really realize what was going on and realize that Maul is actually her greatest enemy here. Not Vader, not the Empire, not Sidious, and that's really, really unfortunate. And it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder now, going into season 2 if we're going to flip from looking for signs of darkness in a light side character to looking for signs of light in a dark side character, and if maybe that whole moment is going to at some point she's going to come to a realization and maybe might actually turn away from Maul, realizing what happened. There's a little possibility open for that.
So interesting that you raised this, because I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you that this is something that is going to be looming over the characters going forward. Is that, yes, Vader is the one who struck the killing blow. He killed Master Daki. But Maul's actions put him in that situation. Maul made the active choice to stop fighting alongside Daki, to stop trying to kill Vader, to stop trying to stop Vader together, and choose to try and split up Devin from Daki. He realized that it was more important to him to maintain the separation between the Jedi and the proto Sith or whatever he is, so that or pseudo Sith, I guess, maybe a more accurate way, to keep that up. So he chose to step away from that fight and leave Daki to his death. And Devin doesn't know that. All she knows is that Vader killed Daki. Maul needed Devin to have someone that she hates. That was what was missing from the equation. Now she has it. Now she embraces the dark side. The thing about the rule of 2 is that you have one person who holds the power and you have one person who craves the power. And the student has to eventually hate the master. And I think it's certainly fair to say that Vader hates Sidious at a certain point. He's just been whipped into not believing he could ever take him down. The Darth Bane trilogy that is part of the Legends continuity, but Drew Karpyshyn wrote that back about 20 years ago now, does a really good job of playing that out with Bane and Xana. But something is going to happen that is going to make Devin turn her hatred away from Vader and towards Maul. And this is something that they are in fact teasing for season 2 on StarWars.com. Here is a quote from Matt Michnovitz, kind of the showrunner of this whole thing. He says, quote, "Devin is left with this horrible, wicked truth that she's not aware of. The secret that her new master betrayed her old master. That secret is lurking out there somewhere." So something that is going to lead to the ultimate split between Maul and Devin.
And even then.
Ben, hold up, Ben. Hold up.
All right.
I got some thoughts too.
Devin winds up. I'm gonna say Maul winds up on Malachor. We don't know how he winds up there.
Yeah.
But something real bad's got to happen to him. And his apprentice turning on him, realizing the truth about him, and banishing him to the ancient hellhole of the Sith. I think that's a pretty interesting way to go. I have more theories on the future for Devin that I will lay out in a few minutes, but I want to, Ben, why don't you jump in here, and then Joel, you go after Ben.
Okay.
All I wanted to add is, like, it's no secret. Like, that is a secret that Devin doesn't know, that like he force pushed Daki into it. But, like, it's also not a secret at all that, like, this whole shebang, the whole reason all these characters are in this position in the first place is because Maul came to Janix to A, do crime stuff, and B, to recruit her to be his new apprentice. He's been manipulating her and grooming her this whole time. And if he hadn't done that, everyone would have maybe survived and been okay. So, like, this is all on Maul and her, like, using him to, be trained and to go against Vader. Fine. But I think all it's going to come to head, and she's going to be like, oh, okay, this is actually all of your fault, kind of.
Yes. So, Joel, let me jump one thing in here, and then I'm going to go back to you. This is what I was saying earlier about them working together. Balance is not, I don't think balance is light and dark necessarily like, oh, equal 50-50, whatever.
Right.
It's people understanding that everyone has different things to offer. And if we work together, we can achieve things. It's when we act separately, that's when we fail. And the dark side is what makes you choose to act separately. It's aggression, it's selfishness, it's hatred, it's fear, it's anger. That's what drives Maul. That's where he steps aside. And that's where the balance breaks. Joel, take it away.
I'm going to be very curious to see how well Maul can string Devin along when it comes to what his plans are. Because, like, right now, she's running on adrenaline of, I hate Vader, I want the Empire gone, blah, 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 blah. And Maul's like, great. Love that for you, kid. Now, here's an orphanage. We got to burn it down and all the kids inside because it's part of the plan. Can you go burn it down for me? And this is the thing I've always kind of complained about when it comes to Anakin's fall to a little bit of like how quickly Anakin's willing to just go and massacre everybody so quickly after he goes from "What have I done?" to Palpatine going, "You must attack the Jedi Temple and everyone in it. Yep, including the younglings. You must strike them down too." And he's like, "Okay, gonna strike down the younglings." And young rave up. Bam, bam, bam. You know, I've always kind of, if I had like my rewrite Revenge of the Sith, I would have actually had Anakin just go straight to Mustafar because I think he's willing to kill the Separatist leaders in cold blood before he's probably willing to go with the kids, at least at first. And with Devin, well, I guess it depends on how much of a time jump we get in between seasons 1 and 2, and I have lots of theories and thoughts on that because of what I know about animation production and whatnot. But I am kind of curious of like, okay, how competent is Maul going to be at manipulating Devin moving forward now that he's got her? How much is Devin, just as a person, still have enough moral clarity to like, if Maul says kill Riley, will she do it? Will she hesitate? Will she like?
Yeah.
Riley didn't do anything. Why we gotta kill Riley? Just do it. Or just do it. But Maul goes.
Yeah.
And Maul's also going to try to build up this crime empire, and like Devin could be like, what does any of this have to do with taking down the Empire? Okay, what are we doing? At this point, I feel like we're just doing some weird vanity project of yours. And, I'm going to be very curious to see how well Maul handles keeping Devin on side when he starts asking her to do more and more just objectively terrible things, even if it's like destroy the Empire, destroy Sidious and whatnot.
I mean, I don't think he's obviously not going to ask her to do those kinds of things early on.
I hope not.
It's still going to be there's more grooming that has to take place. For that to happen, for that to be possible. Because like you said, with Anakin, it was pretty quick. She's gonna have to get convinced, that actually this needs to happen, or maybe he'll trick her into doing something, and it turns out, oh, you've done this terrible thing on your conscience. And we're speculating a lot now, but I mean, she still thinks she's in the right, and even with her rage. I wonder if she gets bored before she gets does a great calamity or whatever, or great terrible thing that a Sith has to do in order to become a Sith. But it's true. It's gonna be. I think he's smarter than just to do it automatically and quickly.
Yeah, I would think the next sort of step in this is okay, you've agreed to embrace the dark side. Yeah, let's ease into this a little bit. Because the thing about Anakin, right? Like, and I don't totally disagree with you, Joel, that it's a little bit fast. But the thing with Anakin is he's been distrusting and pissed off with the Jedi for a long time. We've seen that he's capable of extreme violence with the way he goes after the Tusken Raiders. So it's less of a leap than it might be for somebody else. With Devin, she's like, yeah, bring it on. Let's do the dark side. They got to kind of like work their way up. And Maul has to convince her that, yes, the goal is going after Sidious. That all of this is building to that because that is ultimately his goal. Let's not forget, all the way back in episode 1, he's telling Rook Kast, like, this is what all of this is about. It's about going after Sidious. That's the plan. And Freddie Prinze Jr. once compared Maul to Sisyphus. Like, right, he's pushing the rock up the hill, and the rock's going to roll back down the hill because of. And in Maul's case, it's always because of something he did, something that was unforeseen in his plot, in his plans, or because he tried to skip a bunch of steps. And I think in previous episodes, we've talked about this. The difference between Maul and Palpatine is that Palpatine was really, really good at being patient. He kept a list of names. He had, it's like Arya Stark. He has a list of names that he probably says to himself before he goes to bed every night of all the people in the Republic that he's going to kill. Exactly. He's running through all of them. But he's not going to, if you embarrass Palpatine, if you disrespect him, if you do a slight to him, he's not going to kill you in the moment. He's going to remember it and kill you later, but he's not going to do it in the moment. Maul, because he tries to skip all these steps, winds up creating the thing that's going to be his undoing. And in this case, it's very clear that abandoning Daki, being the one to be ultimately responsible for Daki's death, is what's going to undermine him at some point. At some point, Devin is going to realize. How she's going to realize that, I have no freaking idea, and I'm very excited to see what they come up with. But she's going to realize that, and she is going to turn on her master and abandon him on Malachor.
I actually, you know what? I think I might have a theory for you here.
All right, let's hear it.
Because I'd have to actually go back and watch the episode, but I believe I heard some discourse about this. Basically, there is a shot where it appears that Brander Lawson witnesses Maul force pushing Daki into Vader. And of course, Brander Lawson dead, obviously, but also walks off into some smoke, and we never actually see his body. So I've heard plenty of discourse to say that, like, maybe Lawson is not dead. Actually, he's maybe captured, and he'll show back up at some point with that little nugget of truth.
We're watching a show about a guy who got cut in half, was actually dead until George decided, you know what, let's bring it back. I don't care. Can't do it, Dave. Can't do it. This Savage guy ain't doing it for me.
Yeah, I mean,
but no, like a couple of shots to the chest, that'll do you in.
Not even the chest. What the upper shoulder?
I'm convinced he's still alive. The one kind of timeline quirk, again, this will be a massive time jump, because we know, just plotting it out, right? We know Maul has to be on Dathomir at some point. But 6, 7, 8, 9 years after this, he has to be on Dathomir. We only see him on Malachor, like 18 years after this, 17 years. So it's when, again, that question of the time jump. I mean, does Star Wars do a time jump like that? The only time we've seen it, is the very end of Bad Batch with Omega, right? That kind of time jump. So I don't know. I do wonder if there's something else in store. I do also wonder. I mean, the real question for me then is when Kira shows up in this, right? If she shows up, because does she have more of a part to play in dumping on Malachor? Who knows? Yeah.
I'll just say, and this is probably more end speculation. I know we're kind of going all over the place, but I'll just say this right now because it's a good time. So my prediction of how the show has been made is they ordered 20 episodes. They are dividing. Oh, hi, Dominic, in the background. Look at you. Woo! I hope you're hearing all this. So they ordered 20 episodes.
Easy. That's right.
We're dividing it into 2. And that's why I'm more convinced this is a 2-season show. And when we get to the season 2 finale, it will have a lot more what I would call finality to the story. And now it's just a matter of, okay, well, how much of a time jump is season 1 to season 2, if there is one? Like, are we covering such a small window? We have that little nugget of Darth Maul apparently going to take out the current leader of Crimson Dawn. If they time jump, then, that means they're not going to do that, because I assumed he did that really early. And so either this is actually a very short period of time, because again, I am kind of convinced this is 20 episodes and they're splitting it into 2 seasons, because that's how animation works productive wise. Where you order like an X amount of episodes, and sometimes it gets split into certain seasons. Shows like My Adventures with Superman did that. And at this point, it's like, as you brought up, Matthew, he's on Malachor when Luke and Leia are like 18 years old. Luke and Leia right now are like babies. So either Devin's with him for a very long time, Or the harder truth is this isn't going to cover that much of that, and it's more just Maul becoming the Shadow Lord, and that's it. And Kira's like what, probably 10 still. Han and are 10s, like they're not adults yet.
Yeah. No, they're not.
So unless it gets to
Well,
season 3 and they get another 20 episodes, which is possible. I'm not saying it can't, but I am kind of convinced as of now the Devon storyline probably goes up to season 2, and that's probably where their finale really hits.
And also, Matthew, you brought up Dathomir, which reminded me of the fact that I believe, if I don't correct me if I'm wrong here, that Maul throughout all this possesses the Darksaber. He has it in his possession, and Rebels shows us that it's on Dathomir. So we can assume, because he doesn't have it in Clone Wars in season 7, and he doesn't have it here. So we're assuming he's like gone to Dathomir and stashed it there, just so nobody will take it from him, I guess, and rule Mandalore. So like, I'm curious, like, is that gonna figure into season 2? Are we gonna actually see them on Dathomir? We know that in Solo that he seems to be established on Dathomir. Very curious to see how that plays out, but that just reminded me of like, oh yeah, he has the Darksaber still. Is that going to come into play at some point in this show?
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see. With Filoni moving into his position as Lucasfilm president and kind of the overseer of all of this stuff, unlike say the Bad Batch. And this is not a dig at the Bad Batch, but the Bad Batch, I think, was let's tell some really cool stories with some really cool characters in the Star Wars universe. And let's have a ball doing it.
Project Necromancer, though.
Yeah. It factored into things, but its main purpose was we're telling the story of Hunter, Omega, Tech, Wrecker, Echo, and Crosshair. That's our goal. I think this story is going to factor far more into the future of Star Wars than we are considering right now. And the comparison has been made between Devon and Darth Talon. They are both red-skinned Twi'leks who have turned to the dark side.
Eat more leather.
I don't think they're going to embrace the full Talon like costume and
they did it with Ahsoka. Dang it, George was.
They shouldn't have done it with Ahsoka.
I'm kidding.
Hot Toys shouldn't do it with Ahsoka.
No, I'm kidding.
But that was a character that George Lucas liked the look of that character. He liked what he saw, and he wanted to take that character and create new plans for it. And it's been widely reported that his plan for that character was to make her Maul's apprentice or his number 2 and have them be the main villains of the sequel trilogy. And that Maul and Talon together kind of would have played a similar role to Snoke in at least episode 7. They diverge off. Before this show premiered, Dave Filoni said to StarWars.com, he says, quote, Maul is a character that's our responsibility. George Lucas and I had some talks about Maul over the years and what his plans for Maul had been. And so I felt it was honoring that future that we were going to have and finally bringing some of it to light. So obviously Maul dies in Rebels. His story is over. But Devon's story needed to be over. And someone who was there in the early days of writing episode 7 and would have been in the room with Michael Arndt, Kathleen Kennedy, as they took what George had come up with and began evolving it into what eventually became The Force Awakens, before J.J. Abrams was even on board, was Simon Kinberg. Simon Kinberg is now writing a trilogy of Star Wars movies that is set in the future. It is presumably, I think, episodes 10, 11, and 12. And I think Filoni and Kinberg, who have history working together from Rebels, are taking some of George's ideas that didn't make the cut for the sequel trilogy because that's not the story that JJ wanted to tell at that time. And they are going to evolve them into 10, 11, 12, Simon Kinberg's movie. And it would not surprise me if Darth Talon is one of those ideas. And it would not surprise me if this show is being used as a vehicle to set up the backstory for that. Now, we went through all sorts of theories and machinations and putting together the red string, trying to figure out how Rebels was going to connect to the sequel trilogy. Ezra was going to be Snoke. There was all sorts of, desperate attempts to tie it all together. And that was never going to happen because the people making Rebels and the people making the movies, two different groups with two different goals, telling two different stories. Those days are done. Dave Filoni is overseeing this. Dave Filoni is overseeing Simon Kinberg's trilogy. And Dave Filoni loves to take characters that began in Star Wars animation and put them in the spotlight in live action. We've seen it with Bo-Katan. We've seen it with Ahsoka. We've seen it with Sabine. We've seen it with Hera. We've seen it with Zeb, Chopper, all of the Rebels crew. I mean, the joke has been made many, many times that Ahsoka season 1 and Ahsoka in general is basically just live action Rebels continued. So, with all that being said, I do think that I think it's very, very possible, likely even, that this character, this story is being used to lay the groundwork for important things to come in the future of Star Wars.
How old would Devin be then? If Rey is like in her 30s at this point, wouldn't Devin be like 100?
You know what? You know what? It doesn't freaking matter how old she is if she uses the world between worlds to go into the future.
No time travel in Star Wars.
Just saying.
No.
No, I got a better idea.
Try again.
She freezes herself. Good
May
old fashioned.
Joel, may I quote one of your favorite characters and say, "The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some would consider to be unnatural."
Hey, you're right. I mean, look, Dominic, I hope this is true because I've been thinking for a while. Dave set up the Mandoverse in Rebels. Whether or not he thought he was going to go live action, I don't know how long he knew, but he knew when he had Thrawn go space whale away that I'm going to bring this guy back for a later date. He didn't kill Thrawn. He knew he had like an idea. Whether or not it was Ahsoka, who knows? But he had an idea. So I am kind of curious with this show, and honestly with Ahsoka too, the live action show in the Mandoverse. Where is Dave setting his seeds now for the next era? Where are those plot lines coming? And how is he gonna both get Devin out of the picture, so obviously the rest of the original trilogy can kind of go on a pace, but also start to kind of bring those things back in, and now kind of like, okay, now there's this other thing going on after Rise of Skywalker, and there's a bigger story, and I hope that's true, and I also hope that Ahsoka kind of ties in with Maul, because Dathomir, we're gonna have a big battle on Dathomir next couple months.
We already have Mark, who is in Ahsoka. He's just Dathomir Force magic. Here, I mean, there may be something involving him on Dathomir in the show. I mean, Devin isn't human. She's Twi'lek. Do we know? We don't know how Twi'lek's age.
That's also true.
You know what we know? All we know is we saw Hera.
Bib Fortuna. Bib Fortuna is 400 years old.
Oh, is he?
I'm just making that up. I'm just making that up. That's D-level canon.
Seriously, we don't know. D for Dom, right? Seriously, we don't know how old Twi'leks go, and weird force sensitive or force dark magic, dark arts
also,
cloning.
They could go a variety of routes with this, like that could be, it could be Devin as a much older Twi'lek Sith, as opposed to like a younger person. Could work. They've been out of it for a while, or it could be, who knows, Devin's offspring, at some point. That could figure into it.
Who knows?
Well, or Devin, like I'm talking about Devin being like the villain of a future trilogy. The way Star Wars typically works is you have an older villain and a younger villain, right? Like you have the older. It's like the same. We have the same thing on the hero side. You have the older hero and the younger hero. Talon in early drafts of episode 7, and I think in George's plan, was meant to recruit the Jedi killer, which is Kylo Ren's character,
right?
Which became Kylo Ren's character. So I think a version of that in episode 10 or whatever the heck they wind up calling it, where Rey has an apprentice, or there's some other kid out there who's struggling with the dark side, and Talon seduces them, and then that begins the story in the future. I keep saying Talon, Devin, use them interchangeably.
Same thing.
They might not call her Dark Talon.
Yeah. So there you go. But that's my theory. I think there's just the history and the fact that it's Kinberg that they brought back makes me think that there might be something to this more than I ever thought back in the day. I was very much against the idea that, when people would populate the idea of Ezra being Snoke, I'm just like, that's not the way this crew operates. But this current administration, every indication we've seen from them is that they're perfectly happy to go, hell yeah. We want to have Jason. We're gonna have Jason Solo or Jason Syndulla be first show up in the Rebels epilogue, and now he's like walking around a recurring character in Ahsoka.
That's true. The one real world question is how much the Filoni regime, if we can call it that, is able to make that kind of culture change at Lucasfilm, if there is, and Disney, if there is.
They've already been doing it though. They've already been doing it. Like Ahsoka.
For a film trilogy, it is a call. I get your point. It's just, there is a culture change that would.
The Mandalorian and Grogu stars Jeremy Allen White as Rada Stinky the freaking Hut.
I think though.
Okay.
I think the difference is it wasn't that the film, it's just that Filoni was never involved with the movies until just recently. And then you have he was more involved with the streaming side of things since it started, and now he elevated. And I think unlike the 7, 8, 9, where they kind of had just so disconnected from everything outside of Colin using Mortis, and I would call it Mortis in name only.
Alphabetical order.
Yeah. Kinberg is connected with Filoni. Filoni's probably going to be way more of a creative producer type than Kathleen Kennedy, who rightfully, I think, was hands off and wanted to, let the creators do what they please, as she should. Creativity should thrive. Filoni, I think, is a little more like George. Not that he micromanages the same way, but I think he's going to be a little bit more plan out the spine of whatever is 10, 11, 12, and hey, let's pull in from these various things.
Yeah, and the other thing is to establish, this could be establishing the character, it can be setting up the backstory. They will still, and this is, I think, to your point, Matthew, they still will need to do a lot of work within 10, 11, 12, and 10 in particular, to establish who this Darth Talon character is, so that the audience who is just sitting down for it understands it. And it's not like, well, you have to go back and watch 4 seasons of Maul Shadow Lord. No, you got to be able to understand right away as soon as this character walks in and does their thing in one scene. You need to understand what they represent and who they are. And then when you're done watching Star Wars Episode 10, The Ancient Fear, you come back and
Great.
I just wonder.
You come back and you go to Disney Plus, and there'll be that big banner on Disney Plus, and you go, "Oh, what's this show?" And you start to understand it that way.
Will the executive Disney go for that? I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying
I don't think they care.
They're.
Well, I think what they'll say is the pitch. If I'm Dave Filoni, if I switch out my baseball cap for a cowboy hat, if I'm Dave Filoni, the pitch I'm making is, don't worry. We're going to write this story so that people who sit down for the first time can just watch it on its own. But hey, wouldn't it be a fun way to drive some more subscribers, some more renewals to Disney Plus, to say, like that character, you think that Darth Talon character is pretty cool. You want to know her backstory? Well, 4 seasons of this show already exist. So go renew your Disney Plus, buy your Disney Plus, whatever. If I'm Dave Filoni making the pitch to Josh tomorrow, that's the pitch I'm making is don't worry. Like, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to make this movie inaccessible to people who don't know who this character is, but I am going to, drive you more revenue, more profit by allowing a marketing opportunity down the line.
Yeah, and I apologize if this has been mentioned already, but also Darth Talon was associated with Darth Crate, correct?
Correct.
And Darth Crate had a very similar tie-in where Darth Crate had the origins and the character of Asherad Het in the Clone Wars era. And so there's already that precedent to kind of tie in the really, really, next generation of Star Wars with that era, with the character spanning through that time and having a backstory at that time. So I don't think it's as wild as people might think who don't know about that little connection.
So what you're saying is Devin's got to get captured by the Yuzong Vong, get tortured by them for a couple centuries, meet a bird person, and then she got to form the One Sith on Korriban, and the good guy empire is got to take over the good guy empire. And
again, Joel,
that sounds interesting. I would watch that.
I read a book about that or a comic about that.
Skywalker's common people, played by Ryan Gosling.
There you go.
I mean, and look, like, we're setting up a version of the sequel trilogy that is very, hits familiar beats. But I think what you do with Devin across these next 3 seasons is you create a character who is unlike the other Sith that we know, the other dark side users that we know. And then you inject the story around, Rey and Devin and everybody with a whole bunch of new ideas. I mean, Joel, you mentioned the Yuzon Vong. Maybe again, this whole idea of maybe making the dark side characters and light side characters work together, kind of interesting.
Yeah.
What if there is that external threat that makes them think? Again, it's very Game of Thrones with like the White Walkers and making, Jon Snow and Cersei work together and all stuff. Like there is like an element of that to it, but like, you can do something really interesting there.
Have we had, just a question, have we had a female, I'm recommending a female dark side villain?
Asajj Ventress.
Well, but like as the main villain.
As the main villain, no.
Yeah. So
Shin Hati is the closest.
Yeah, I mean, Shin Hati.
Or
she's not the master. She's the apprentice.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, does that make a difference?
Traya comes close.
But like in canon,
like
TV or movie level, no.
Yeah,
no.
But then there's doing something different, like something.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Shaking it up a little bit.
We're getting into the. Do I want to get into the weeds of essentialism versus different, whatever? But is that kind of different in terms of making like you're saying,
and like I think like both prequel and sequel trilogies like toyed with that idea. Like I think as we were talking about, there was a version of the story that could have had Kylo Ren serving Darth Talon. There was also like Ventress was originally pitched as a Dooku stand-in, as a a episode 2 dark side villain.
Mm-hmm.
There was also in the Duel of the Fates later drafts that Solani Ren person. I don't know if I made it up in my head that she was a Twi'lek, but I just remember like having in my head that there was like this eviler Knight of Ren character who was a Force sensitive to kind of make Kylo look better by contrast, just so they can get him redeemed. And then when JJ came, it's like, I'll just bring back Palpatine instead of having to go through the rigmarole.
JJ always reverted back to we need either Palpatine or a Palpatine stand-in with Snoke.
So I think I have like an artist opinion and an engineer opinion on this. They're two different things.
Let's hear it.
As an artist, I think anyone making a Star Wars show or movie should definitely be free to come up with their own characters.
Yes.
However, as an engineer, I recognize that picking the most popular characters that haven't made it into a TV show or movie yet from a wide amount of array of characters is probably going to yield better results than just coming up with a new one, because you're picking from the best of the ideas rather than putting forth a new idea that could be any range of quality. So, and I think Marvel and DC as well do this extremely well. Like the vast majority of characters that you see that are major characters in Marvel and DC in TV shows and movies have already appeared in the comic books or somewhere else, and they were the people's favorite best characters. And so that's why Marvel and DC have a lot of continued popularity to even now after, you know, so many iterations of movies and spin-offs and shows. And I think Star Wars sometimes has this weird effect of wanting to cameo your top basket of characters from previous TV and film, want to bring in a bunch of new characters that are almost like similar archetypes of characters that we've gotten before, with references sometimes literally in the lines that they say or the places they are to previous things. But the one thing that I don't think Star Wars actually has done enough of is just mind the expanded universe and even the current material of books and comics and video games for stuff. There's so many great characters.
Because no one cares about the expanded universe. I'm sorry. Like, the books and comics are not popular.
No one cares about the Marvel comic books either. And yet,
no, they were bigger than Marvel comics. Marvel comics have always been much more popular than the expanded universe.
But when they have,
exactly,
it's been successful, at least creatively.
Yeah.
Like, there's three sort of main examples, really, one and two kind of side ones, but Thrawn, Cobb Vanth, Black Chrysanthemum are kind of the three that jump to my mind.
Yeah,
Chrysanthemum, it was a little iffy. Cobb Vanth, solid character. A lot of that, you know, credit goes to Timothy Oliphant for coming in and doing his thing. And then Thrawn was very, very good on Rebels. It was good in season 1 of Ahsoka, and they are betting big time on him being a success in Ahsoka 2 and either the Filoni movie, or if they decide not to do it as a movie, as a limited series, that is the climactic event for this era. They have bet big time on this character, which again suggests that this is something that this current regime at Lucasfilm is interested in at least trying. I don't think the previous one, again, if we go into the Abrams and Ryan and Gareth and Ron Howard, like they didn't seem all that interested in it. They might do it like here and there, but you're right, Chris, they would go for the archetype. Have Snoke and then for Palpatine. Kylo is a different. I'm not going to lump Kylo in there because there's a specific point to the way that he references Vader, but you know, kind of hit the Tarkin mentality. Like there was a lot of intentional, like, we're doing our version of X instead of saying we have this you know, high level prospect in the minor leagues playing in AAA. Let's call him up and put him in. You know, that they you know, first round draft choice. You know, Devin might be the equivalent of Gavin McKenna. We're gonna draft her first overall with the Toronto Maple Leafs and put her on a top line with Austin Matthews, who is of course Ray.
To be fair, Thrawn is just as much an archetype as all those others. Like, Thrawn is just Tarkin and the Emperor combined, and Sabayoth is also the Emperor, just but crazier. So I mean, and I don't even know what Talon's character actually is. Like, everyone's always talking about Darth Talon as this great character. What is her character?
Which is
Talon is just cool. Characters are allowed to just be cool. Like, and Boba Fett is an example of this.
And so and Boba Fett is just cool. Right, that's what makes everybody go, wow, look at that character. And then you follow that up with Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars, the Book of Boba Fett, comics, novels, all that stuff that make him cool. And that's that's the hope here. And that's why I think you start, if you're going to do this talent thing, and this is all based on this hypothetical that may or may not be true, but if you're going to do this talent thing, part of the reason you start with this is so that you can start building up the character so that it is more than just a suit.
And the thing too is, you know, I'm not saying that the issue here is having derivative characters, because I understand the point that a lot of the characters in the expanded universe are also derivative, but of archetypes and such.
There's so many Vader knockoffs in the
but
EU.
that's not the issue. What I'm comparing here
Mhm.
is picking a character that we already know people like versus coming up with a new character.
Right.
That's the difference. Like you can still be derivative and be a character that people like. I mean, BB-8 is very much derivative of R2-D2, but it's very, very likable character.
Yes, the best.
But I think
very
again,
likable.
the problem
Well,
is that the
so-
EU
so I do wanna
was never
jump in.
popular. It was never big.
Well,
Like,
okay,
Joel,
hold
you're
Oh, no, I
hold
didn't-
on. Heir to the Empire was huge. Let's
No,
let's
it
not.
wasn't.
Like,
the amount of Mara Jade cosplay that
Yeah,
you see on the internet.
Yeah, but that's like
and
that's the
such.
fandom. Like you go.
But
to
that's
the
what
regular...
I'm talking about. So,
Okay,
so
how
here's
many-
the thing.
Joel,
The
how
reason,
many, Joel,
the
Joel,
re-
Joel, Joel,
so-
how many people were fans of Star-Lord and Rocket
That's what I was about to say.
Raccoon? Yeah, like
I would say
Well,
that
it's funny.
the Marvel comics and DC comics, there's always going to be niche comics, but I think they are comics first. though.
Who was a lover of Guy Gardner before Nathan Fillion put on that bowl cut last
The
summer?
problem
Like,
is, though,
What's funny-
to the majority of people, Star Wars is still movies, and I think
I'm
those
talking
people-
about relative popularity here. I'm not talking about. I'm not comparing like Mara Jade to Princess Leia. Like I'm not making
I'm
that
not
comparison here. I'm comparing Mara Jade to Delilah Blue and some of the other, post Return of the Jedi characters. Like, basically we know that they're the standouts of their class is what I'm saying. So I'm not saying like, it's going to be popular because people already like the character. I'm saying as in like you go into the movie, you've already read the comic book or the book, and you're like, oh, I'm so excited that we're gonna see Darth Talon because I read the Legacy comics. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that of the people that have read the Legacy comics, she's one of the standout characters and most memorable characters from the Legacy comics, partially because comics are a visual medium and she's visually cool looking. The artistry is amazing.
Joel, I want to jump in.
I hate the Legacy comics,
and
actually.
so
I
what I'm
hate the Legacy
saying,
comics,
what I'm
actually.
saying here,
and you are wrong.
and what I'm saying,
what I'm
saying here is that so when you reach the new audience that is broader than the audience of the Legacy comics, you already have a very strong signal that when Talon gets on screen, people are going to gravitate towards her in a disproportionate way to they would towards a new character who's untested, because you know that she already worked in a different medium that has a lot of crossover similarities, like the visual aspect. So I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying that you're going into a movie and you're going to like it because you already like that character. I'm saying there's a group of people that already think that character is an astounding character, from outstanding character from a specific field and medium, and as a result of that, it's more likely that when you put that character in a new, broader audience, it's more likely that that character is going to be more well received than just a random new character.
And I think that audience is actually way smaller than I think. And I don't.
Joel,
It doesn't matter.
I'm going to go to Matthew in just a second here, but let me just make this point. We're not saying Darth Talon is Spider-Man. We're not saying Darth Talon is Batman. Thrawn is not Batman. We're not talking about the marquee characters here. Those will always be Luke, Han, Leia, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Padme, Rey, etc. Like we're not talking about that. We're talking about like the second tier, the third tier, the characters that, the general audience doesn't know. You're not selling tickets based on Thrawn or Darth Talon. But there is a segment of the audience that goes, that's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting. I am excited about that. You're helping to generate a little bit of word of mouth there. Again, it's not the be all end all. The ultimate result relies entirely on Simon Kinberg and whoever Dave Filoni hires to direct this movie actually delivering on the movie, because there have been some shitty Batman movies and some shitty Spider-Man movies over the years. Like it's not like that alone is not going to save it. But the drawing from the previous established, they're saying we've got essentially, we've got some places where we can pull characters that already have a bit of a fan base. You're right. It's not a big fan base. It's not a huge fan base, but it is enough to like start generating a little bit of word of mouth. And then we can roll that into our good script that our good writer has written with our good producers and our good directors who are going to go, and our good crews and our good actors who are going to go deliver all this.
I just have one more counter. Okay. Sorry.
Let's let
I have a bunch of different thoughts because I've been storing and compiling them. First of all,
so do I.
this when I got this signed by Tim Zahn at New York Comic Con 2024, he did a bit of a story time, and he said that this thing here, because they thought it wouldn't sell, so they this fun little special introductory price.
So for everybody who's listening, Matthew's holding up his first edition of Heir to the Empire, and it's got a little banner around it that says "The saga continues. Special introductory price!" exclamation point.
So so Tim Zahn saying, oh yeah, we didn't think it would sell, and so we have this little thing, and he was amazed that I still have this thing on here. Anyway, it of course sold like hotcakes. They did not need the special introductory price after this, but to say yes, I mean, we have Star Wars novels and publishing because of this book right here. I mean, you and I agree with that. We talked about that on Eye On Canon. Another thing we talk about on Eye On Canon, Joel, is the way that novels, comics, paper canon, whatever, can be great laboratories for character. It can be great places to test out legacy characters, put them in different situations, to develop new characters and test out different angles on the archetype. Hafra is a brilliant angle on the Han Solo archetype. She's so different. She's clearly identifiable, but so different. When is she going to come on screen? We don't know. But
that's a good question.
So
I
think what Chris is saying is there are folks who get the evidence from the laboratory tests, and to use the metaphor, the laboratory tests have come back. Oh, this character really works. This mix of characteristics really works. The story beats of their origin, for example, like Captain America, his story beat origin really works. Let's make it one of the first few Marvel movies. Similar thing. I mean, with Thrawn is a similar idea there. Speaking of Tim Zahn, so that was that point, and so yeah, here for it. Want to see it. I think a better parallel may be the show we're ostensibly talking about right now. Is for when this works the best is when you get a legacy character, call him Maul, and a new character, call her Devin. And they both have these compelling parallel arcs in this show that come together, and that it's kind of has equal weight to them. And I mean, that's the magic of this season is, we thought, Maul is a main character. I'd call Devin a main character of this show, and she has such a.
She can be the one with the arc. I mean, she can actually change and evolve.
So that's ideally, hopefully, maybe the model going forward. I do think Luke and Rey in The Last Jedi have a bit of that, but Chris, to your point, it's always been, Ahsoka and Rebels. It's been Ezra's story. It's, I mean, Luke
and Mando. It's Grogu and Mando's story.
Yeah, Obi-Wan and Anakin in Clone Wars. That was another maybe good example of it being kind of mixed, right? We got a lot of time to get a lot of great character moments for Anakin and Obi-Wan. And for Ahsoka and Rex, that again the alchemy there. So maybe in this sequel trilogy, whatever we call it, for that to be the new way going forward, and something that Filoni and Kinberg and them would hopefully see as working well, as a way of bringing old fans in, getting new fans in. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm talking about the laboratory results, right? At the end of the day. Yes, a popular character is gonna drag in eyeballs and box office. The word Star Wars on the cover is gonna drag in box office. The fact that it's a saga trilogy, saga story. At the end of the day, quality of a story, quality of a film, maybe not the first weekend, but the staying power of something.
Oh, absolutely.
There's got to be something to good storytelling in the economics of Disney. I mean, come on. There's got to be something.
We had this whole argument, and it's sort of like, is Devin even a Darth Talon adaptation? Like, they might not even call her Talon. Like, outside of red, pinkish Twi'lek who signs up with Maul, how much of that is? I mean, I guess it's the equivalent of you're adapting Civil War, the movie, versus the comic, and the movie is so different from the comic. So I guess in some ways there's that. Compared to someone like Thrawn, who's a lot more of a direct adaptation in terms of characterization, and maybe one day Mara Jade, who's like You don't have to have her marry Luke, but as long as she's an angry redhead, close enough. And the Imperial.
There's in the Legacy of Vader comic, there's a dark side redhead that looks like Marge. She's not Marge. Ends up kissing Kylo Ren.
Skywalkers and their redheads, am I right?
Mara Jade is clearly canon because according to West End Games, Mara Jade was in Jabba's palace. So
True.
There we go. Look, I'm keeping an eye on the time here, as well as my eye on canon. So let's quickly hit a couple of other things from the episode, and then we'll start to wind down. Ben, you mentioned this earlier. I think it was like 7 hours ago. The presumed death of Brander Lawson. What did you think of that as a sort of wrap up to his arc for this season? And yes, I'll ask the question: will we be back next year going somehow Brander Lawson returned? Ben, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's a great way. I think I love the interactions between him and Riley these episodes. And their kind of reconciliation, being that there's been a theme that Brander was kind of a absentee father for a while, and there was a lot going on there, and things, but you got the feeling that he was trying to do the best he could. Despite his actions, sometimes he was just like juggling a lot of stuff, trying to do things, and I think like that is personified in his last moments. Presumably, it's just like a guy just doing the best he can, and he's like, yeah, okay. He doesn't get emotional about it. He's just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna protect my kid. Very, very emotional. Very, very tugs the heartstrings. Like really good emotional stuff that I think was great. Yes, obviously he could come back, could be interesting. Also, could be really interesting just to leave it here. And it's actually really good and really satisfying when characters go out in a manner that it is, as Luke does, peace and purpose of just like doing a thing and saving the people that they love. It's kind of perfect.
Yeah. I hope this is it for him. Like I hope we don't do the I hope it isn't a fake out. I understand how it could be. I hope it isn't. I think this was a tragic sort of end, and tragic both in just tragic when somebody dies, tragic that he didn't get to properly reconcile with his son. We got a little bit of it, but not fully. Tragic because it spells out that Riley's future is now somewhat in question. He's now with Crimson Dawn. He's with Maul. There's a question of where he fits in there. His other surviving parent is an Imperial. So what does that mean? Especially considering his father was just killed by the Empire. And also, Brander is somebody who could have been a great rebel leader. He could have been a great agent for the Rebel Alliance, but not everybody who is a great option for the rebellion gets to be, because the Empire is evil and the Empire is killing these people, and the success of the rebellion has to come at a cost, and the cost is these people who we would have liked to have seen more of, who could have been more and should have been more in a sense. And Obi-Wan says to Ice Cube Jr. in Obi-Wan Kenobi, there's not a lot of heroes, or heroes are something that is sort of in short supply, and the reason is the Empire keeps killing them, and Brander's kind of an example of that. So it was tragic.
Yeah, that's the sorry, go ahead. You good?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think that Riley and Devin are Kira's parents. There we go.
Kira's already born. She's like 10 years old.
Okay, they're going to be her adoptive parents who are going to raise her for the rest of her life.
Okay. So I guess devil's advocate, I could see them doing the Miss thing because Lawson's a dad, and maybe for the kids watching, the 10-year-old, 12-year-old, they might just want to be like, let's not show a dad character get shot down. That might, freak out some people. So devil's advocate there. But we're watching a show about a guy who got cut in half. This is a universe where someone exploded and had a clone ready to go. He got shot in the shoulder. It was right here. That's not a wound. That's not the heart. That's not the lung. And he goes into the mist. I know my storytelling 101. I know every cliche. Star Wars always does the cliche. There's a lot of evidence that he might not be dead. That's my devil's advocate of maybe they just didn't want to show the dad character getting shot down.
I think a couple people could be not dead for sure. Anybody who we did not physically see die might not be dead in this episode, and there's a few of them.
Yeah, I mean, Rook cast. I mean, we hear the Vader. That's pretty definitive, but yeah, you never know. I will say what I'm most interested here. Dom, you touched on what the impact on Riley. I mean, yeah, what he does and where he goes, and that's an interesting question. His father just died, right? And if that's the case, right, or he thinks his father just died, whatever it is, he doesn't know. There's going to be, almost trauma bonding with Devin, or at the very least, there's this common grief and possibly common rage and anger about that is going to, who knows where it's going to drive him as a character. So there's that. Chris Abbott on the tractor beam last night, we talked about this as well, and just the possibility, at least, that Lawson might want to, or might be maybe tasked by the Empire to go track them down because he wants to go find his son if he's still alive. If not, Dom, I agree. It's interesting. I'm on the fence, admittedly, about that, but yeah, it really. I mean, the whole Lawson's whole arc in this, the lawman who's now wanted, right? I mean, Two Boots kind of expresses it is the tell part of it a little bit because he's so focused on procedure and the rules and he's the one who calls in the Empire. That fact that he's on the run is weird for him. Yeah, man. At the very least, it's what a way to go. Standing up to the Empire, sacrificing yourself for your son, for your family.
Yeah. I mean, and it's the good cop who believes in justice in an unjust time. It underscores the message that there isn't a place for that kind of character in this era, and that's why you need a rebel alliance to restore some semblance of justice, because the people who wanted to uphold, if not the old ways, the ideals of the old ways, cannot exist in this time. Palpatine won't allow for that. The other thing I think we should hit really, 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 really quickly. Dryden Voss makes his return. Dryden Voss makes his return. Chris, take it away. What'd you think?
Yes, I was very excited to see this. I'm a little upset that Paul Bettany wasn't the actor, but still amazing. Forgetting who did it, but he did an amazing job.
Very good job, yeah.
And that's really, really exciting. Again, wanting to see more tie-ins to the Solo movie, Crimson Dawn, potentially Kira, as I keep mentioning, is one of my big asks for this series that I really think has an opportunity to do that. And I'm excited that so far they've done everything, that they need to do. First they dropped the mention of Crimson Dawn, and then he shows up, so now we just need season 2 to get a little bit more into the backstory of how he comes to power, how Maul goes about this sabotage of the leadership that he's about to go on, and then how everything gets set up that eventually we see in the Solo movie. And what I really hope the most is that, regardless if we actually get to the point where we're close to the Solo movie, or we see how Kira joins and is recruited by the Crimson Dawn, regardless if we see that in this show, I really hope that making it a point to bring Crimson Dawn into Maul Shadowlord as a major plot point. I'm hoping that what this means is that even if this show doesn't complete that story, that there's going to be a precedent for some other show or movie to come along that completes that story, and we end up actually getting not just the backstory for how the things and events in Solo came to be, but also like what happened after that, which is the real exciting thing, because that was one of the wildest cliffhangers to never pay off in film history.
Yeah, still kind of shocking that has not yet been picked up on. All right, I think it's that time. One more time for season 1 of Maul Shadow Lord. It's time for your favorite segment. It's time for my favorite segment. It's time once again for Ben's Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do 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 do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben, take it away. What do you got for us?
Well, it's funny that you just mentioned Dryden Voss. There's something about Dryden Voss that I noticed in animation that I never noticed in live action, was his weirdly long, like super long thumbnail. Like he has his fingernail on his thumb is really, really long. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I'm like, is this a spice nail? Is this what is this about? Also, actually, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I'm not going to speculate on that. I'm not sure.
Carrie Fisher had one of those during Return of the Jedi.
Which is like, why do you even need that when you have all of Hoth in the previous movie that you could just dive into? But like, okay, I did notice this in the movie, and my assumption was that Dryden Voss is not human, and this is actually like a claw, like an alien, like talon.
That's a good theory. I like that. Also, he probably does drugs too. So
originally the character was like this lion-like character in the Lego Movie Dudes version of it. And then the look of the character changed a lot. And I think the actor might have changed too. All these changes happened.
It was supposed to be Michael K. Williams from The Wire. Was going to play.
So I'm wondering if this is just a vestige of the lion claws as a nod to the previous iteration of the character.
Genuinely didn't even think about that. I like that idea.
Or he is getting on his own supply.
Or both. They also could be all of the above.
Tomato, potato.
Okay, so we get actually Iko Diodaki actually name drops Maul as the Shadow Lord, which is pretty cool. It's cool when they say the title of the thing in the thing. But it couldn't help me to remember that that actually the Inquisitors in Rebels call Maul the Shadow when he shows up. So it's kind of a little bit of a stinger there, a little bit of a connection there, if you will. Thought that was interesting. Maybe left over from Maul Shadow Lords. So when Maul is attacking what's that? Go ahead.
Well, say in Legacy of Vader, the Knights of Ren call the dark side the Shadow.
Oh, okay, all right. That's interesting. Didn't know that. The moment where Maul is going up to attack the ATDP or whatever it is, the Imperial Walker, and he drags his lightsaber on the ground, is pretty cool. And also, I'm assuming, is yet another reference to the classic Star Wars fan film Brian versus Storkman 2, where the exact same thing happens. And it's actually it's a very impressive effect if you go back and watch that film. It's a very impressive effect. It like drags a lightsaber through water on the floor, and it's surprisingly like well done, and it's really cool. They should do that more in Star Wars, for the record. Speaking of lightsabers, Maul wields his lightsabers not only in reverse grip, but also dual wields in this. And there's one pose right after he jumps the lake and lands that he's got the lightsabers basically in the same exact pose that Starkiller has in The Force Unleashed 2, and all of the promotion. I'm like, okay, guys, I know there's a lot of parallels between these two characters, but like that seems very on the nose. It seems very much a Starkiller pose.
I friggin' loved that. I caught it as soon as it happened. And if you check my review on Hoth Off the Press on my Substack, you'll notice that it is titled "The Force Unleashed," because
there you go.
For that very reason, and also just Maul versus Vader is very much a Force Unleashed kind of concept.
Yeah, no, I think they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Come on. So this is actually kind of obscure. There's a character that shows up in this show, in these final 2 episodes that some of you may not know, some of you may not have heard of. He's the guy with the black mask. He's got a big helmet, cape, very tall. His name is Darth Vader. For those who
never
don't
heard of
know.
him.
What?
Never heard of him.
And a lot of people may not be familiar. He's kind of a glub shitto. But
yeah.
He's showed up in a surprising amount of Star Wars stories previously. You may have seen him in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Star Wars Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Star Wars Tales of the Empire, Star Wars Darth Vader issues 1 through 17, Star Wars Darth Vader 2015 issues 1 through 25, Star Wars Lords of the Sith, Star Wars Thrawn's Alliances, Star Wars The Force Unleashed, Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2, Star Wars Secrets of the Empire, Battlefront, Twilight Company, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes,
and we don't have all day.
Star Wars 2, The Sims 4, Soul Calibur 4, Lego Star Wars, Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, Lego Star Wars 3, the complete saga, Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga, and Star Wars the Holiday Special.
Wait a minute, you left out the glove of Darth Vader.
How dare you?
What about everybody's favorite Star Wars video game of all time, Kinect Star Wars? Where was the Kinect Star Wars mentioned in this?
That's it.
Yeah.
I missed a few comics, Ben.
I didn't say it was a comprehensive list. I said it was just a taste. It was just a few.
A sampling, a flight
part.
of Darth Vader stories.
I got like
Ben, I actually have a theory about that character that not many people know about. This character, have you ever noticed, Ben, how you never see him and Anakin Skywalker in the same place at the same time?
Yes, you do.
You know what? That's interesting.
Yes, you do, Dom.
I'm wondering if you took the mask off Darth Vader, if Hayden Christensen is under there.
No. I heard a theory that Vader is a clone of Anakin. It's a clone. Duh.
Sebastian Shaw.
Kenobi.
You're crazy. Joel's on the money.
So in Twilight of the Apprentice, Ahsoka cracks Vader's mask, and you hear about Lantern. So I don't know.
That's weird.
There's a lot of characters.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
You play a bunch of characters.
It could actually, maybe it's not Anakin, maybe it's that random New Republic officer in The Mandalorian season 1, episode 6.
Yes, who happens to be played by Sebastian Shaw in the original trilogy.
Yeah. Clearly.
Yes.
So I bet I hate to take your thunder, but I actually have 2 connections for the audience out there.
That wasn't enough for you?
No, it wasn't. You failed. One, when Maul goes over the sludge, I swear to gosh, he is doing the Naruto run. He's doing the the Naruto hands like this pose.
What's this?
He's ready to run into Area 51.
Naruto. It's an anime in Japan.
Okay.
One of the most popular shows in Japan and anime. My second connection is when you really think about it, this is a more successful version of what happened in Twilight of the Apprentice, where Maul finds a student, gets the master killed, and actually gets the apprentice / brother sibling he wants. Compared to Twilight of the Apprentice, where Kanan lives, he has to run, and Maul doesn't get an apprentice. So this is actually somewhere weirdly.
And also, makes Twilight of the Apprentice makes so much more sense when you watch those episodes, and it's like Vader arrives and Maul is out of there. He just takes off immediately.
That's true. Yeah.
It's also just better than Twilight of the Apprentice.
Only because this episode's really stinking good, Dom.
No,
But
it's better because Twilight of the Apprentice is not good, but that's a conversation we'll have another day. And we've had
no, it's a
more
conversation we've
before.
had like 20 times by this point.
Yeah, it's this episode is. I'm not going to get into it because we don't. I literally are running out of time, so I won't get into it other than to say this episode is very, very good. Twilight of the Apprentice, I don't care for, but that's a me thing.
Remember much of it.
That's a me thing. Most people like it. And most people are wrong. That's just how they are. No. Let's. I think Ben, do you have anything else, or should we wrap? Should we close the book?
I think I'm officially out of breath. So yeah, please close it up.
All right, let's close the book for Maul Shadow Lord Season 1 on Ben's Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
The real hardcore SWU fans will realize that I used an old cut of Ben's Connection Corner for this episode. There's a few details missing from that.
Yeah, that was weirded me out.
The real hardcores will notice that. All right, let's go around the table one last time, give final thoughts and scores out of 10 for this episode. And Ben, you to get no breaks, no rest. Start us off. Final thoughts, score out of 10 for chapters 9 and 10.
So I really like this episode a lot. And I really like these episodes a lot. And I think this is some of the best we've ever gotten. I think this is the best ever, some of the best Star Wars to ever Star Wars. And pretty darn good and sets the bar standard. Like, seriously, I'm not sure. I know they will, but I'm not sure how they will top this, because these episodes were a brilliant way to end the season. And I think also sets up a lot of interesting things. I think they've left the door open for Vader to be a more commanding presence in this show going forward. I'm very curious to see how they work that out. I think just Devin, that character, all-timer, like I instantly iconic character that I think is going to be one for the ages.
All right. What was your score?
You know what? 9.9 out of 10.
Wow, very, very, very specific. I like it. Matthew, final thoughts, score out of 10 for these two.
Space Wizards, good. Animation, great. Acting, dialogue, everything. 10 out of 10. No notes.
10 out of 10, no notes. Joel, what about you? Final thoughts, score out of 10.
10 out of 10. Best season 1 of animation. I'm gonna rank it Maul, Bad Batch, Rebels, Resistance, and Clone Wars in terms of season 1s. Just off the top of my head. Epic finale. What a show. Can't wait to see Devin's character. Curious how many seasons the show gets. Just a great time. Some great Star Wars. So hooray.
Hooray. Indeed. Chris, final thoughts and score out of 10.
It's wild that we're saying this in 2026, or I'm saying this in 2026, when, this animation project, first released something in 2008, which was 18 years ago, if I mathed correctly. Oh my gosh. But I think this show is actually this team's hitting its stride finally. I think that there were so many moments with Clone Wars and Rebels especially where we were like, they're off. They jumped the shark. This show jumped the shark. And they got back, thankfully, every time, which is great. And they ended both series in an amazing way. I think there was less of us noticing that in Bad Batch, but there were still some moments where we're like, what are they doing? Here and there. But I feel like this show, there weren't any moments where we're like, what are they doing? Like every minute, every second of this show was good, made sense, and fit narratively with, I think, the intent of what they were trying to do, and didn't miss. And that's incredible. So I think the team has finally grown up. The team is finally 18 years old, has grown up, and now has put out a masterpiece of an animated show. And I agree with Joel. I think it is the best first season of a Star Wars animated show for sure. And it's just such an incredible foundation to build on for what we could get. Like Ben, I'm like, how do we get better than this? But I can only imagine we will, because this team is just gonna keep chugging forward. So this is awesome. This was amazing to watch. I'm so excited. This is a part of Star Wars canon now, and we're gonna keep building off of it. This is a 10 out of 10 Grand Slam home run of a finale here.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. No doubt about it on this one. The first episode was great in and of itself, and then the second episode essentially, as I said off the top, managing to walk the line of just being the wish fulfillment of the lightsaber duel between Darth Maul and Darth Vader, while also simultaneously serving as the perfect conclusion to season 1 of the story that they've been telling across all these episodes. Yeah, cannot say enough good things about it. So yeah, 10 out of 10 from me. And I think with that, we will begin to wrap things up for this week.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to the show. Of course, don't forget to follow us on social media. Search for @the SWU. You'll find us there. Dominic, thank you so much for hosting and moderating this amazing discussion we've had.
Oh, thank you. It's been a lot of fun. It was great to hear everybody's thoughts. It was great to get everybody so passionate about the future of Darth Talon or Devin or lack thereof. We will see how it all plays out in the years to come. But yeah, great fun all season long talking about these episodes. And I don't know what I'm going to do for the next 2 weeks until we have another new Star Wars thing to discuss when The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out. It's what a time. Weird. What a time to be alive. What a time to be a Star Wars fan. As we mentioned off the top, you can check out my Substack, dominicgjones.substack.com. And you can read my reviews of the episodes there. And please don't hate me because I don't like Twilight of the Apprentice. As I said, it's a me thing. One day I'll explain it to you. I know most people really enjoyed that episode. And I'm trying this thing of not like poo-pooing what other people like. I'm really trying not to do that, but it's harder than you think. Love these episodes. These episodes were amazing. And bring on season 2. Can't wait. See everybody again in 7 days' time.
Sounds like a great episode of Lothal Strikes Back. That's what it sounds like. At WJ25 on social media for those that aren't watching and don't see it on the screen. Ben, thank you so much for hosting as well.
Oh, this was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to get a chance to watch and discuss this particular series. I'm gonna miss it. Truly, I'm gonna miss it. I think this was, as they say, peak. It was peak, guys. It was hella fresh and peak, and maybe whatever other things that kids say these days. I don't know. But it was a lot of fun. It was very, very, very just a joy to watch this show and to also just overthink it so much. But I think it outperformed beyond our wildest dreams, and I'm glad we have a season 2 to look forward to. And also, there's a Star Wars movie, guys. Forgot about that. So that's happening. And I should mention, I don't know when I'll be back on this podcast for a bit. I will be traveling for the next a little bit, but you'll understand why I was doing that in the coming weeks. But I should be back at least in time to discuss The Mandalorian and Grogu. So look forward to that.
Heck yes.
I wonder where you will be, Ben. I wonder where you will be to watch The Mandalorian and Grogu and to discuss it. I wonder where
I'm really curious.
You will be. If you will be
anywhere. How are you going to get from the airport?
No idea.
Maybe you can get a preview of this at Ben Hart with no E on social media. And for those who are new, that's not me saying like type in Ben Hart without an E in Hart. You have to type out everything that I say verbatim. Ben Hart and then the word with and the word no and the word E.
It started because we were saying it on the podcast, then I just accepted it, and it's a cyclical thing that has now become this ridiculous, stupid thing.
My gosh. Matthew, thank you so much for making the long, arduous trek from the Eye On Canon podcast set to the Star Wars Underworld Network Annex.
Well, there's someone in my seat. Like, what am I gonna do? He's even got my brilliant USS Titan A model. What's he doing? I don't know.
Careful.
This is a blast. I was about to make a Star Trek joke. Only I'm about to make Star Trek references. Yeah, this was a blast.
I'm just holding it hostage.
Oh, you're holding it.
I'm holding the Enterprise hostage.
You're like
I now want to do like an over/under on how many Star Trek movies and shows Dominic has seen, and I think I'm going to say it's under 4.
Yeah.
Probably.
No. Do we count the ones that I slept through?
No, you have to make it through the
Wrath of
entire
Khan.
series to count it, and you have to have been awake the whole time.
Anyway,
You have to know the lore like I do.
anyways, guys, this was a blast. This was a lot of fun. Good, Chris, Ben, good chatting with you guys. I haven't chatted with you guys in a while, so good chatting with you and chatting about Star Wars. Lots of laughs, lots of deeper conversation as well, of course. And that's this show really brought that out, the fun and the deep character and lore conversations as well. And so, yeah, it's I agree. Perfect first season. That all 10 out of 10 no notes. Can I do the plugs or do
Yes,
you want to go?
do the plugs.
Yeah. Okay, I'll let Joel plug Eye On Canon that we've mentioned a lot, but except to say it is kind of books focused in some ways and intellectually focused in other ways and whatnot. My other podcast, which is also here on the Underworld network and channel, the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews. That's every Wednesday night. Chris Abbott and I talk about the comic books that may be coming out that day. So that'll come out that day. This year is a bit of a weird year for Star Wars comics, but yeah, we do have things to say and do have things to chat about. So that's every Wednesday right here on the Underworld YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, so if you subscribe to this channel, you'll get it. You're right there. The Tractor Beam Comics Reviews, and we're also on Blue Sky at the Tractor Beam. Bisky.social. You can follow my personal Instagram is where I'm usually at on socials at MNEUG1138.
That's right. That is MN. EU is an expanded universe. G is in George, 1138. Sure. That is what that means. Make sure you check that out. Thanks, Matthew. And then Joel, thank you so much for being on. We appreciate you as always.
You're welcome. And actually, I should have known we would start adapting more EU stuff, because remember, Rise of Skywalker, Rey is now the canonical version of the Jedi Prince Ken from the Glove of Vader, and also the Dark Empire.
Yes.
What? So we have Jedi Prince Ken in canon. It's just Rey. It's just Rey. I am a firm believer in this. But no, great being here. Fun talking about the future of Darth, maybe Talon. Who knows? Could be third name. And how many seasons the show gets? How many? Well, will it go? Solo connections, all that good stuff. I can't wait for season 2 and maybe season 3. I don't know. But yeah,
18 seasons.
Yes, 18 seasons in a movie. Of course, you can follow us at the Eye On Canon at ioncanon.bisky.social, and of course, Star Wars Underworld Discord, where we have game nights, movie nights, and more. I don't think we're doing anything this week, Ben, but I think we're doing game nights again next week, where we'll do the Fortnite. Escape from Vader, Galactic Siege, and just some good old-fashioned, big old Grand Arena. So Battle Royale. So check us there. Subscribe, talk, all that good stuff.
So do want to jump in? So the Eye On Canon podcast. That's Mondays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. We often take a more just intellectual view, talking a lot about politics, religion. We're great dinner conversation over there. And but this coming Monday, we're talking about Maul Shadow Lord, but talking about characters and themes overall, the wide angle lens. Sometimes we've talked about constitutionalism and galactic governments and history and those kind of weightier topics that are not just what kind of lightsaber style or whatever, but those are important and fun too. Not pooping on them, but
wow, that's kind of really weird, because I heard that there's nothing political about Star Wars at all.
I know, right?
It's just completely devoid of that kind of stuff. I would be very curious.
Yeah. So if you want to be dispelled of that notion, come check out the Eye On Canon podcast. Mondays right here on the Underworld YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Both Eye On Canon and Tractor Beam are on Spotify and Apple as well for Eye On Canon Podcast and the Tractor Beam Star Wars comics reviews.
Yes. So the great thing about having half the network on one show is half the plugs are already gone by having the actual people here to plug them, which is amazing. So we just got to remind you to subscribe on your way out if you haven't. Thank everybody who super chatted. Thank our channel members. Plug the other shows on the network, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, and the Raeside on Hannah's channel over there. And that's it. At last, this episode has come to an end. We'll be back next week. Until then, for Dom and Ben and Matthew and Joel, my name is Chris. May the Force be with you.
Kenobi. Someone had to say it.
It's a wrap.